Mom put my sister on birth control, but after taking them for a while, they made her sick and she quit taking them. Mom didn't want to hear about sick and just kept buying them, but Nancy kept stuffing them away. It was a no-win situation for both of them, so I stayed out of it. It was only when I read the back of one of the packages that I realized they contained female hormones. Nancy and I had played dress-up many times, and our parents had even seen me more than a few times as a girl. But what nobody knew was that I wanted to be a girl. Now I'm 13, and after searching the internet, I knew exactly what would happen if a boy took hormones. That's when I casually asked Nancy if I could have her entire stash of pills. She gave them to me, and I started taking 3 a day. I couldn't find a thing about a guy taking birth control pills if they would even work like I hoped, or even how many to take, so I guessed. Weeks turned into months, and even taking 3 pills a day, nothing happened, which made me think that what I read was just a bunch of hooey. But I kept taking the pills anyway, hoping for the best while fearing the worst. Then it happened. I hit puberty. Since I was still growing, I didn't think much of it at first, ignoring the fact that my bottom was getting rounder and wider, chalking it off to my growth spurt. Then Nancy mentioned it, telling me that I was beginning to look like a girl. My name is Matt, and I live with my parents and my sister, just your normal suburban family, except that I want to be a girl. I can't explain it, but I have always felt this way. But with Nancy helping me dress up, I was able to get some relief now and then. When she told me that I was starting to look like a girl, I was elated, but also scared to death. My parents had never seemed to mind when I was dressed up before. But this was going to be different, a whole lot different, so I began to hide my attributes the best I could, wearing baggy clothes all of the time. But my breasts kept growing, and by the time I was 14, I had a small but fully developed bust line, and my jeans were always tight. I wouldn't dare wear a bra. Because there was no way that I could or would take gym classes, I was skipping them instead, which was eventually reported to my parents with a note telling them that I was going to fail unless they had a valid reason for my not being there. That's when it hit the fan, big time. My dad was really into physical fitness, so when he found out that I was skipping gym, he literally dragged me into his office and demanded to know why I wasn't attending my gym classes. Between his glaring eyes and my fear, we deadlocked in a silent dance that I was going to lose one way or another, and I knew it. Sitting there like that, knowing that I had to tell him something, did nothing for my self-esteem, especially when Mom came in and sat on the corner of the desk. Other than my gym classes, I was an all-A student, so they were at a loss about my actions, and they both wanted to know what was going on. There was only one way out of the mess I was in, and knowing that I was going to die anyway, I simply gave up. Without a word, I stood up, pulled off my baggy sweater and tucked in my shirt. "In your room," Mom said instantly between her gritted teeth. "Right now, young man." Of course, I had to strip for her, and she could see what I had become. Mom quickly grabbed her measuring tape and determined that I had a full A cup with a 34, 22, 34 figure. I thought she was going to go ballistic, then, without a word, she went into Nancy's room, returning with a bra, which she helped me into. It was then that my growth became even more evident as the bra pulled everything up, making things firmer. With a withering look from Mom, she handed me a blouse, told me to put it on. Then she and I went back to Dad's office. As we walked in and Dad saw me, his eyes went wide. Then Mom laid it on him. "It seems," Mom said to him, "that our son has developed the body of a 14-year-old girl, complete with breasts, wider hips, smooth skin, and a narrow waist." They demanded that I tell them how it happened, as if I was going to admit that I had been taking Nancy's birth control pills. I shrugged my shoulders, falling into the chair in front of the desk. "Well," Mom went on, "no matter how this happened, he needs to wear a bra all of the time, but that won't be possible. That and attend school anyway. So since Matt doesn't want to tell us how this came about, I have another solution." Dad and I both leaned forward. Matt will just have to start dressing as a girl. He doesn't have a choice, now that he has. But Mom, I cried, I can't go to school dressed as a girl." "Matthew, this did not just happen to you. You did something to make this happen, which means that you wanted it to happen, and it has." "Honey," Mom said, softening her voice, "you leave us no choice but to make sure that you stay healthy, and for girls your age, proper undergarments are essential. Don't you see that?" Dad, quiet to that point, asked, "Are you going to tell us how you managed to corrupt your body?" Or shall we make a guess? I said nothing, hoping that I could protect Nancy so at least one of us would be safe from their wrath. Have you been the one taking Nancy's birth control pills? My heart sank to its lowest depths when he said that, but I remained mum. Helen, get Nancy down here now, please. When Mom and Nancy came in, Dad, in a very casual voice. Nan, do you see anything different about Matt? He's dressed up like a girl again, but we've all seen him do that before. No big deal, Dad. Take a closer look, Dad told her. Her eyes went wide. Yes, you guessed it, Nan. Matt has developed not only breasts, but the rest of his body is that of a girl his age. The question is, how did he do it? And the only conclusion we can come up with is that he took your birth control pills, which means that you had to be giving them to him. Do you have anything to say? Those pills, Nancy almost yelled, always made me sick. I told Mom, but she didn't do anything, so I just quit taking them. Matt wanted them, so I gave them to him. I didn't know what he was doing. Dad looked at Mom, who had a sour look on her face. I guess, she said, I should have paid more attention. Those same pills didn't bother me, and I thought you were faking it, Nancy. I'm sorry. That fact remains, Dad said, that Matt probably cannot be expected to revert to his old self. But we will have the doctor check him out to make sure. In the meantime, then looking right at me, I want you to go get changed. From this moment until we figure out what to do, you will be wearing skirts and dresses, both here and at school if necessary. Since there is a valid medical reason for this change, I'm sure that we can get you admitted to the school as a girl. The rest you'll have to handle on your own, I'm afraid. It's the price you're going to pay for being so stupid. Within the hour, I was fully outfitted in panties, the bra, a skirt, and a pullover top. My longish hair had been brushed out and a butterfly clip added. Mom had me use blusher and lipstick that dashed on some perfume. The only thing I wore of my own were my gym shoes. Then she told me to go outside. I had never left the house when I was dressed, afraid of what my buddies would say. And it wasn't any different then, but Mom held the door open, and I was ushered outside to face the world as Mary, the girl I had become. As I stepped outside, my worst possible nightmare came true, when Tom came riding into the driveway on his bike. At first, he didn't know me. Then I saw the look of recognition on his face. Holy cow, he said, why are you dressed like a girl? You lose a bet or something? Or something, I said, without going into detail. Tom looked at me a bit oddly, then asked me if I wanted to go riding, so rather than stay at home and possibly have to face Dad again, I took my bike, told Mom where I was going, then Tom and I left. By the time we had got to the park, I had learned how to ride a bike in a skirt, and Tom had plenty of time to study me from the side then, when we stopped. You mean that you're turning into a girl? He sounded strident that time. I propped my bike against a tree, sat on the swing looking at Tom, wondering just how much I could tell him. Everyone was going to find out anyway, but Tom was my best friend, so yeah, I guess, but Mom says that I have to wear the proper undergarments, which means that these. So Dad thought the best solution would be for me to dress like a girl, at least until they can figure out what's happening to me. Well, he said with a grin, at least you got a nice pair. Very funny, I said. I wasn't about to tell him it was all my idea. Tom and I stayed at the park for a while, the road back towards my house. He kept staring at me, which was making me nervous, but he didn't say anything. And when we got to my house, he told me he would be by the next day after church. Church. I had forgotten all about it. If Dad was going to make me dress like a girl, then everyone would find out. And it wasn't going to be on Monday, it would be the next day. I went in the house in a rush, only to be stopped by Mom. Girls do not run like that, Mary, so please learn to control yourself. Do I asked, have to go to church in a dress? Yes, dear, you do. After you left, Nancy told me that you have been taking those pills for almost 2 years. Taking my hand, we sat at the table. That was some very long planning, Mary. Taking those pills, knowing what they would do, then waiting until you began to change. You had this all planned out long ago. And just to make sure, I checked your computer and guess what I found? A very long list of what would happen if boys your age took birth control pills, so don't lie to me, you wanted this to happen and made sure that it would. Didn't you? With each word, I sank into the chair, my head almost to the table when Mom took my chin in her hand and pulled up. Tell me, she said softly. I always wanted to be a girl mom. When Nan and I played dress up, it was like heaven, but I never expected to grow so quickly, Mom interjected. We always knew that you liked dressing up as a girl, honey. We just never expected you to do something so foolish. I'm not sure, but I'm willing to bet the doctor will tell us that what you have done cannot be undone, and that means that you'll be a girl forever. Is that what you want? To be a girl? Nodding my head, yes. Well, now it looks like you'll get your wish, and that means that you'll be wearing a very nice dress to church tomorrow. But why don't we spend a little time on your hair tonight? Maybe you'll feel better about it in the morning. I went to my room to sulk, I guess. Then I saw my reflection in the mirror, and knew that I had been right all along. Only it was true when I said that I never expected it to happen so quickly, and only after being found out did I realize that I had been fooling myself. I went in Nancy's room, looking at her dresses, then selected one that I liked, the white one with the little flowers on it. It went with my one and only purchase, some low white heels. Nancy came in and gave me some pantyhose, the earrings and necklace that she always wore with the dress, and I dragged them all back to my room, deciding that my only hope was to become the girl that I always wanted to be, which meant acting, talking, and so on, just like any other girl my age. At the dinner table, it was obvious that Dad was still angry with me, but he didn't mention my status, and I chatted with Nancy about clothes I could use and so on, adding that I would have to get my own makeup kit soon, to which Mom agreed. I thought Dad was going to throw up when she said that, but with that thin top on, there was no doubt that I had boobs, and since I did, and because of his edict, would be dressing as a girl, a makeup kit, among other things, would be required. Mom told him just that, making it clear that she didn't like it either, but could not see any other way except to help me look presentable as a girl. In fact, right after dinner, that's where Nancy, Mom, and I went. To the mart to get me some panties of my own, plus bras, some makeup, and another pair of shoes. While we were out, I felt as if I belonged there in that sea of lingerie, and reveled in the fact that I no longer had to skulk around peeking at things that I wanted, like some kind of pervert. Mom bought a few other things for me, like earrings, then we went home. Since it was getting late, Mom and I went to my bathroom where she washed my hair, then set some rollers in place and gave me a nightgown to wear to bed. I lay there for a long time wondering what Dad was going to do, since it wasn't like him to just take things, and I was certain that my troubles with him were just beginning. So I planned on making the most of them and fell asleep smiling at what I knew I had to do. It was an easy decision. In the morning after I used the bath, I tucked away my now smaller manhood before I went in to get dressed. The pantyhose felt really good on my legs, and I loved the way they whisked up my legs, making them look longer and a lot more shapely. I did struggle with the bra, but managed to get the new one on, then opened the package that contained my new makeup. The foundation matched perfectly, and with a bit of green eyeshadow and some tan highlighter, I used the liquid eyeliner on each eye, a black pencil under each one. Then I slipped the dress over my head and zipped it up before I stepped into my heels. Looking in the mirror was a real thrill because I knew that I wasn't padded anywhere, and the dress fit me just as good as it used to fit Nancy. That's it for today. Hope you have enjoyed it. If you do, then be sure to subscribe for the next part of this story, and show your support on Patreon.